Bruh. Bruh. Alright, so as you saw in that opening sequence, which I hope you enjoyed, and if I did it the way I'm thinking about doing it, should be pretty awesome. I don't know, because I haven't done it yet, but it will have already been done. So you will have just seen it, saw it, enjoyed it. Thumbs up. So, as you see, man, I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work, guys. And it's been coming along great. I've been so inspired and so jazzed and so pumped to be working here in BC's garage, man, and getting things done. And like I said, we're not going to talk a lot about that because that is just that's almost there, man. But let's do a quick overview. So the pipes are just kind of stuck in here right now, just to kind of give you a like an imagery type of sensation, but I did in fact cut holes there in the side so we can get the piping through from the engine. But really, until the engine's in, I really have no idea. I have no spatial awareness of where these pipes need to be. But the painting's done, and oh, it ended up so good, so nice. And that, my friends, is taking your time and being patient. Especially in a humid environment. But you can see the cross members back in, the modified cross member, the new RB engine mounts are in, steering rack is back in, all the suspension's back together. Our custom St. Louis Speed and Sound sway bar is back in, and that also has polyurethane bushings. Our Concept Z Performance brake stopper, I guess, cylinder stopper is in. All brand new brake gear, but we did recycle our brake booster because there was nothing wrong with it, but it had some rust on it just from years of leaky fluid, so we sanded that down and buffed it up, made it look nice. Our lines are back in, and the only thing we have left to do is the wiring. Oh, everything's ready to go there. So, like I said last time though, we are going to be talking about the engine, and specifically, we're going to be talking about all of this. Like this, and these, and those, and those, and that. And where does that all go? Let me grab my manual, because we gotta have our manual. Oh yeah. So, unlike the Z32 manual, I do not have the RB manual in hardback, so we have to use a soft copy of it, but no problems. It's very thorough. It is in English because I believe it is a Australian manual. So yeah, so we're good to go with that. Now, here's the thing, guys. When you got a long-term project, there's pros and cons to it, right? So the good thing is that, you know, you could space it out over time. You could buy parts that you're budgeting for. It doesn't become an unnecessary burden to you or your wallet or your family or anything like that, because having a car hobby is an expensive hobby to have. The bad news is that over time you forget like where things go and how they went together. You know, it's kind of like when you put your keys in that special place so you won't forget them, but it just so happens that it's not where you normally put your keys, so then you just can't remember where they were. That's kind of how it is with this engine. So what we have is we have all these little connections and all these little things that we have to figure out where they go. Like, we have to remember where they go, and it should be easy because we've got the manual. So let's start taking these one by one. We're gonna start marking them out, figure out what do we need to take care of while the engine's still here on the stand, and what needs to be taken care of once it's in the engine bay. Originally, you could see this is obviously not stock, okay? So this is an oil filter sandwich plate that allows me to put an external oil cooler onto the engine. Now, had this been an N1 version RB26, the sandwich plate would have already existed and we wouldn't have to deal with these extra things. But originally, the engine came with a water-cooled oil cooler, which actually I think I still have. So let me show you what it looks like. Okay, let's see. Okay, up here. Yes, here it is right here. So this is the original oil cooler, and let's go back to the engine with it. And this is kind of like the best thing about keeping parts until you're actually done with a project, because sometimes you have to go back and cross-reference. So this part here would have been the part that was attached to the engine. It was oriented, if I remember correctly, in something like this-ish. Yeah, like that. Okay, and you can see these water lines. Now already, if I'm just looking at where these water lines are, I can see where they go. One's going right there, and one's going back there. Now that this oil cooler is gone, and it's water-cooled oil cooler, we don't need those water lines anymore. So, this one and that one back there, can you see it? Need to be capped. We can verify that by looking at the manual. So, intake manifold collector. Now, let's see. Here's that water line. Water hose, standard vehicle, to oil cooler. What does that say? Rubber, come on, focus. Rubber cap for N1 vehicle, water hose. Aha! Aha! So, tape, pen, mark. Okay, definitely something we need to do while the engine is out, but I don't have the caps on hand. So, let's write that down to go to the store. So we got 4 right here. Let's look back at our picture. And here's the air chamber it's talking about. So, out of the air chamber, we've got the lower one that says to recirc valve, okay. We are either going to use a recirc valve or a blow-off valve, so we'll mark that to BOV. And the top one goes through this line, air hose to that guy. Huh? Ah, okay. We can connect those ones. But if we follow it, vacuum hose times 2 turbocharger. Ah. Well, where does that go? Yeah. to the wastegate actuator solenoids. Okay, so the one vacuum line goes to the wastegates. It's actually these two right here. It's a T-split right there. Okay, so that is to the wastegate. Now, I just know that to control the wastegates, you either need a direct connection to a pressurized line, or if the plan is to control the wastegates via boost control, which is what we want to do because yeah, we want more than the actual stock tuned boost that's controlled by the wastegate actuator solenoid, we would need the wastegate control solenoid, which is right here. Ha! Now, this is the stock Skyline wastegate control actuator solenoid, and we are going to go ahead and continue to use this, and the reason why is because since we're using the Haltech ECU, we'll be able to do all of our boost control in the computer to control this device through the Haltech. These two lines here are going to go to those two that I saw there. But here's the question. We traced one of these lines to go straight to the wastegate actuator solenoid, but where does the other one go? So it actually goes to this little T that's showing here, and then that eventually, where's that going? That goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. It's supposed to go here, and that goes nowhere. Okay, so let's look. All right, we know that they both go to turbocharger. Aha, here we go. There's the one that's sticking off there. It's a J hose that goes up to the manifold collector. Aha. All right, let's connect those two together because, yeah, that's something we could do right now. Double, triple, sometimes quadruple check what you're doing. I was trying to get this hose on to another one of the vacuum lines in the back of the engine, and I started getting frustrated. And I started thinking, man, let me remove this other hose. And when I took one of the hoses off, there was a lot of extra hose. And I thought, these car manufacturers don't make extra hose that goes on stuff, so I must have put it in the wrong place. And I did. And after some more research, I found out what was wrong. Check this out. Okay, so I had this actually on this line right here, but you see it was like on all that extra amount. That's not normal. Most car manufacturers will only put a hose on about yay far, and this was already on like that. So I had taken all of this apart when I did the block cleaning, or when we did the bottom end build, and evidently had put it around backwards. Now the way I figured this out was this one here is the one that goes to the wastegates, and if it is running to here with nothing in between, that is most definitely incorrect, because it has to have some sort of source pressure system, which is this guy, which goes to that T that we talked about, which is the metal hose just behind. Haha! So I need to switch these two around. This one now goes between this front one and this guy up here, and then we got to figure out what goes on the other side. So in my research, I found a cool picture, man. I did not have this picture. I don't know where it's from. I never saw this in the manual. Perhaps it's in there and I skipped over it, but look at this. Someone took the time to color code everything, and yes, it confirms exactly what I was just saying. Now, the blue goes all the way around here to that front piece there, air connector. Check this out. So this yellow line is that first line that we installed, And then there is another vacuum line just above it. Now look, this yellow line comes around the front of the engine and goes to carbon canister. That's a piece of emissions equipment that I don't have because I've only got the engine. And I'm not California emissions and I don't need to worry about that. So, that line right there is actually totally unnecessary. I could probably go ahead and just remove that line altogether and cap it right here at the vacuum tank. So, yeah, more minimization. All right, so continuing around the engine, we've got this hose right here that was obviously cut, and one that's missing right here. Now, these are both the same size. They're both coolant lines. And I know that because one, it's coming out of the block, and two, it matches up with other coolant galleries. So what are these? These are the two lines that would connect to the firewall of the car. Not to insult anyone's intelligence, but what does that mean? You look at these two bungs right here. That's where those two hoses would connect. What is this, BC? What does that do? That is how you get heat in your car in the wintertime, because the coolant circulating through the engine is hot. I mean, if you look on a temperature gauge, it's roughly between 185 to 220 something degrees. That is circulated out the back of the engine into the firewall of the car, into a heater core, which is like another little mini radiator inside your car. And then your fan blows through that, which gets heat in your face. So, we already know that what these are going to be doing. This is one of those things that I would love to attend to while it's out of the car, but honestly, we're going to have to do some custom hose job to get this where it needs to go on the firewall, and we won't know that until the engine's in and we have proper orientation. So, enough with that. So far it seems like we're on track and we've taken care of just about everything, but when I look at my cart here, I still see things. So I see like this tube right here. I'm pretty sure. Huh? Has this bung right here, and he sits right here, right there. Those two match up. So that's something else we can worry about later. Leftovers like that. I felt it was neater just to use one line instead of two lines and a tube and some bracket and multiple clamps. Let me tell you something about working on cars. If you're working on a car and when it's all said and done, you don't have parts left over, you're doing it wrong. You always gotta have parts left over, man. If anything, call it weight reduction, and that is free horsepower. So another last piece that we have is this guy right here. I think, if I remember right, in this gallery there was... Aha! Yes, okay. So it actually connects up into here, and these tubes go... I think they go up, if I remember right, they go up through the manifold there. Now, what do these tubes do? Do we need them? Can we just cap that off? Let's consult a handy dandy notebook. All right. Right here, right there, and we have to brake booster to clutch booster. Now, we don't have a clutch booster in our setup because we're using the non-turbo Z32 clutch system, but we do have a brake booster. So we are going to need that line right there to make it to our brake booster. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to stop this car. So what I'll probably do is somehow modify this. Maybe I'll get rid of one of these and cap it. The other one I'll cut down here, and we'll just start our vacuum line way down here. And then we can kind of come under this part and around the back side of the engine just to keep it clean. The reason why it would do this on the Skyline is because, you know, it's going to be right-hand drive, so the brake booster is probably going to be sitting right here as you're facing the engine, so it's a short little connection. But for us, it's all the way on the other side of the engine. So we'll figure out some clean way to do that, and no worries. So Michi, that's it, man. Just running through this engine, looking at all the different open nipples that we've left behind, using our service manual and some other documents to try and discern where everything's supposed to go. Again, good thing that we kept some parts around because it helps us identify the what and the what. There's going to be a couple situations that are going to require a little bit more craftiness than others. For instance, the connections for the recirc valve system, because we're using a blow-off valve. So we've got to figure out ways to cap that off. Does that mean I take it to the fabricator and have them weld those things shut? That's a possibility. I still don't even know what our intake system is going to look like because I really want to get this in the car first and see how it fits and how we want to pipe to air filters. Because we're going to be using the Haltech computer, the ECU, we don't need to worry about mass airflow meters because it has a map sensor, so that's perfect and awesome. Which, by the way, actually we need to decide which one of these vacuum line ports we're going to use for the map sensor on the engine. So that's something else we need to figure out. We figured out how we're going to minimize our recirc valve stuff, and yeah, we capped some stuff off that we're not going to use. We got a lot of green tags on here, and those are things I want to be taking care of over the next week or so. I just don't have like all the little caps and stuff on hand to be able to just do that right here, Johnny, on the spot. But man, got a few more things to do inside the engine bay, like install the wiring, make sure all the brakes are good to go. While everything's apart, I'll go ahead and fill the brake system, bleed it out, and yeah, man, I mean, we're on the cusp. We are on the cusp. Once this engine goes in, everything's just gonna start. There's still way more work to do, but I have to know the spatial awareness of this opening right here to go any further with the piping and all that stuff. But it'll be good. It'll be good. The next time we're together, I think we could either be dropping this engine in or just doing one last run through, like a progress update. Like, I think we'll do a complete recap of everything we've done thus far, and I don't know, maybe we'll even set up a live stream situation like we did with the engine pull. Maybe we could do a engine drop live stream. To tell you the truth, I'm way more concerned about manhandling this engine than I was about manhandling that engine. So I may not live stream it because that could be a long live stream. Like, I'm gonna be very delicate. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're learning something. If anything, consult your manual. That's the lesson. And always have parts left over. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. You're throwing away horsepower. I'm telling you. All right, amici. I'll talk to you later. Ciao a tutti and aloha. Bye-bye. BC has been doing the work. Doing the work. Doing the work. Doing the work.